I wish I had a coffee. Hey everyone, I am sitting on a screeching chair. God. So, first of all, today is Monday the 20th of March, and I have already filmed a vlog which I was planning to edit and put up on YouTube on Friday, but I haven't had time, and so it's probably will be coming out on Wednesday now, so after this video. It's yeah, there's a couple of things. So this is going to be predominantly a how to run or behind the scenes of a business, art business, and how sometimes things go wrong. And I think it's very, very useful to some of you who are thinking of starting art business, or maybe are, I don't know, going through a similar thing, or either way, I think it's useful to know that. And then I will try to do some art just because I'm starting to really crave. I had to take a few days out sorting out a lot of other issues and things, and yeah, I haven't had time to paint, and I'm starting to really have this agitation now where I feel my creative side is not having a chance to come out. So usually Mondays are my chill days because it's kind of like a half day of work for me. Mason doesn't have after school club on Monday, and then we have a tutor coming later in the evening, so basically I only get to do a bit of work, and generally it's just running through some emails, responding to customers, just something that doesn't take too long. And then I tend to either dedicate some time to just relax and do other things, or painting, or some creative input, whatever it is, but it tends to be quite a, yeah, just a chill morning, early afternoon. So over the weekend, I figured out that somehow there was an issue on Etsy. So I've made a lot of sales on Etsy this month and also in February, and somehow the payments from Etsy have been a lot less. And I couldn't figure out what it is, but I knew that roughly around £1,000 I was expecting more in my banking account from Etsy, and it wasn't there. And I was thinking, what is going on? So I started looking into it, and I discovered that they were holding, they basically pay me out in just small kind of amounts, and whatever they paid is not the whole of my sales that I've made. So there is basically that 1,000 that I thought I am short of. It's sitting there in reserve. So I was thinking, what on earth is a reserve? So I went through all of the points that it's like a quick way of finding out what could be going wrong with your shop or your Etsy account, and why you have been put on a reserve. None of those points are actually applicable to me. So I was then thinking, well, it's becoming a disruption to my business. Because I also just ordered or paid the invoice for the new stamp sets that are coming. And obviously end of month is coming for salary and things like that. So it's just the whole financial situation has been completely messed up by Etsy. And so we started looking into it, and I put a complaint through. I wrote an email, and what you get is you can't actually, when you have an Etsy shop and you run into a problem as a seller, which means you're making money, and in some cases you're making a lot of money for them because the prices have been going up, and the, so to speak, the commission that you have to pay to them for services or whatever, it's been rising. So anyways, the point is that after complaining, I got an email that bounces off. So you can't have a call with someone from their service department. You don't have a way of, if you have an issue, you don't have a way of raising it with someone over the phone that they can tell you you know, look into your account and tell you what happened. It's always through an email, although in their system it says that a phone call is available. But in my 4 years of using Etsy, if I had any issues or if I had any questions, I could never speak to anyone. So it's like a mystery. I wonder if anyone ever managed to call Etsy, like have a phone call with Etsy as a seller. So yeah, so that kind of doesn't exist. It's a myth. The Etsy call is a myth. And then it's an email. And so it tends to be also a premeditated email where it's just you send them something and it bounces back with a premeditated text and check this and that and that. And usually you already read it on the website in the Q&A sections on the forum or whatever. So it's not adding any information whatsoever. Then you have to write another email. And that is what I have done now. So I wrote a second email because that wasn't any answer to my question. And also said that I'd like to put a formal complaint about this. And let's see where it will take us. I gave them 24 hours to resolve this issue because it's just unheard of. I mean, it's like, where is the world going? What is going on in the world? Like, I just don't get it. So basically what it is they put a reserve onto your sales, and that will not be paid out to you for 45 days, or it can even be up to 90 days. So anywhere between there, the reserve then starts to be lifted. And what they're explaining in the email that I got is that somehow this doesn't apply to the tracked and signed postage, but if it's standard, somehow they can't see the tracking of it, so they can't see where it's going and whether it has arrived to the customer or not, and therefore they're putting a reserve onto that sale. And because they put a sale reserve, it means that for that certain product you will sell, but you won't see that money in 45 days or even up to 90 days, which would be like a 3 months situation. I mean, where have you come across where you are selling products, you spend money on making those products, you spend money on selling and marketing and whatever, and it's all gone out, but you will be paid in 3 months' time. So your money is basically sitting somewhere. And yeah, I am in complete and utter shock. I heard a lot of bad reviews about Etsy, and I heard a lot of Etsy sellers wanting to leave, and actually they do leave Etsy, and eventually they set up their own websites with e-commerce and put the shop there. And I was considering it because I am spending a lot of money on Etsy services, which if I have a situation like that, I mean, let's see how long it will take to resolve it, because it's basically, I traced back and I looked at when this started happening, because no one, I checked all the emails, there are no receipts, so they have never contacted me to say there has been, for example, I don't know, like a policy breach or something, and we're putting a reserve onto your account, for example, which none of it makes sense, because what they're saying is it's something to do with the standard and the tracked shipping. But I mean, I can't charge my clients or my customers £10 tracked fee, which, by the way, I always put around £6-7 shipping, and then I end up paying on top of it from my business funds. So I don't even put the full tracked postage there, because people just not keen to pay that much money. So for them to force me to use tracked postage every time, it just won't work, because I have certain products that are maybe, so the cheapest one is £4.50 at the moment. It's a discounted item. So, and then things like individual watercolor tubes, which are £12. I can't charge £10 for that product to be shipped. It just makes no sense. So it would have to go out as standard, and they have no business enforcing me to do that. And beforehand, I could easily use standard postage, and none of my orders were reserved. So this is very, very peculiar, and something is very off, because imagine to how many people this is happening, and sometimes you don't notice. So the first one that it happened to me is 11th of February. So it's been over a month that they have been doing this to my sales, to my standard sales, not the tracked. And then this weekend, I also noticed that regardless of whatever postage it is, before I even have a chance to select a shipping option, they already put it on, they put the order into reserve. So whatever I send it out with, tracked or standard, it goes into reserve. So basically I don't get any payments for that. And I'm just in shock. I'm just in complete and utter shock. Obviously I have a new stamp set coming out maybe end of this week, depending on the dispatch should be happening in a few days, and then usually it arrives here. So either end of this week or beginning of next week, which means I have no idea how this is going to work now, because you know, I need to be paid. Like that, the business to exist, it needs funds to be run, because you are constantly investing, you have money coming out, you need money coming in to cover, to make profit, to pay yourself salary for what you do, for the products that you sell. So this is just unheard of. Like a online shopping platform can do this to the money you earn. So they're just holding your money. So yeah, I am in absolute shock. And this morning has been super stressful, because there's no way of talking to anyone and just resolving the issue on the phone, or at least getting answers why they did it, why they put a reserve. Do they have an explanation? Why did no one tell me about it? And just put a reserve cap on there, and that is it, literally. So yeah, let's see how this goes. And I was not happy with that at all, and I'm not happy with Etsy doing this. And this really was the last straw on camel's back. I am definitely going to be leaving them. The question is when, because I have to now figure it out with another shop, setting everything up myself, and taking and closing Etsy down. Basically, that is where it will be heading. I don't know whether it will be a month or 2 months time, or maybe longer, but yeah, it's just absolutely shocking. It is unheard of. Yeah, I will be working towards setting up the website. I will need to have some time for that, and most likely I will dedicate May to do that, because in April I won't have the time. And that's where it will be heading. So another thing that happened this morning is, well, it will make more sense once you watch the vlog for the exhibition, which probably will be coming on Wednesday or Friday. I'm not entirely sure. It's been a very busy and quite exhausting time, actually, the last couple of weeks. But yeah, so basically it will make more sense what I'm talking about now. But I had a few run-ins with the art curator. Right from the beginning, I did have a kind of impression that it wasn't very professional, the way things were done. But it was my first one, and I thought, well, you have to start somewhere. This is not like a big gallery or anything like that. It wasn't even a licensed gallery, so I had to sign a document to say that in case anything happens to my artwork, like, I don't know, there's a fire at the law firm, or there is, I don't know, for example, a robbery or whatever, the artwork that is displayed there is not insured, and therefore they're not liable for any kind of losses. So obviously a licensed gallery would not jeopardize the the value of your, or for you to have a loss if you are actually leaving your artwork there that is worth a certain amount of money. But there is a caveat, of course. If you are displaying in a professional gallery, in a licensed gallery, then you have to pay them not only commission for every piece of art that you sell through them, but also you have to pay a certain amount of money to display your artwork there. So, you know, there are certain kind of risks you have to take when you are displaying in a non-licensed gallery. Yeah, it was a lot of work. In the end, it was very interesting. And a lot of fun for me personally, as it was my first one, and it will be quite a significant step towards showing or selling art, especially original artwork. But where I'm going with this is, so the first run-in I mentioned with the I mentioned in the vlog that you haven't seen yet with the art creator was basically when I sold my painting there without my permission. And I say without my permission because I actually explicitly said that I will be delivering the artwork to my customer myself. When she offered to deliver it, or as she said, dropped it off, I said no thank you, I will do it myself. And then I find out as a after kind of effect that, oh, by the way, I dropped it off. So yeah, that I was not happy with, and I'm not going to go into it right now. I think you need to wait till the vlog where I explained it in more detail. And that was it. But I tried to, because she did it like a day before the exhibition. I think she done it on a Monday. I found out from her about it on a Tuesday, and Wednesday was the exhibition. So it was very close to it. And I thought it was just so unnecessary because I kind of had this sour taste in my mouth after that, you know, situation with her. So I kind of thought, okay, I'll let go of it. I'll focus on the exhibition. That's more important to me, and get to know people and, you know, mingle and do your thing. So anyways, today I was going through my emails this morning, and I come across an email that was sent to me the day after I complained about this art curator to the lawyer who organized this whole art exhibition thing. And so yeah, interestingly enough, the day after I received, oh, by the way, at the exhibition when I was there, she didn't come over to say, by the way, I'm so sorry about this, was not the right thing to do, I didn't think of it, whatever, you know, just kind of like normal social skills. And I saw an email from her. So before you read an email, there's usually like a little line, you can just see how the email starts. And the way it already started, it was very passive aggressive. So I just thought I don't have time to be dealing with people like that. Just really, really toxic and very unprofessional. So I just left it. So coming back to the email now that I discovered today, that was sent by someone the day after I've done the complaint. So the email came from someone whose name I didn't recognize. I tried to Google it, but I couldn't see anyone familiar. The person didn't introduce themselves, as in who they were at the event. Were they the people from the private viewing or from the actual exhibition? It was like a mystery. So it was a really abruptly written 2-sentence email to say, basically naming that art curator has told me that you have put my picture on your social media. Please take it off immediately. Da, 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 da. And it didn't say that if you did plan to put my picture, please don't, something like that. It was very concrete that that person, the art curator, did tell them. So and at that point I just had enough of it. I just thought it is, you know, this art curator is proving to be such a spiteful woman that I just don't need it. Very unprofessional. And the way she's dealing with things, this is the second encounter that is just unheard of. So basically I have never put any pictures on my social media without any prior kind of permission. I would always ask if I had to put someone on there. I don't even know if I have any pictures with a person there except for myself. I might have videos, and in every case of those videos I always ask permission. She tried to tarnish my name as an artist and as business, that I go ahead and put pictures up of other people without permission and things like that, which is the complete opposite. And obviously that person probably isn't as articulate as the art curator if they haven't first gone ahead and checked my social media to see whether it's actually true, whether I do have a picture of them there. So yeah, it was very peculiar to me. I really don't like dealing with people like that. I ended up speaking to the lawyer again and saying, look, you know, I had a lot of fun in this exhibition, but unfortunately due to the way this person is dealing with things and being so incredibly unprofessional and quite unpleasant really, I will not be exhibiting my artwork there while she's curating the artwork. I said, if you one day have another art curator working for you, then I said I would love to come back, but meanwhile I just don't want to be associated with this sort of yeah. So that was weird because it all happened today. It was just a really stressful, unpleasant morning, one thing after the other. But things like that happen. That is it for chit-chatting, and I will add some artwork later on. I just want to paint today. I want to take my stress levels and everything out. I want to have a cup of coffee, and I want to just, you know, take a breath and kind of, we all have some bad days, and this was one of the worst days today since I started business. It was such like high level stresses. The battery just ran out. So yeah, it was such high level stresses that I felt like here I am dealing with one problem with Etsy, which was really, really annoying. And then as I was dealing with that, I also had, I had to read that email from a person that basically I realized that the art curator intentionally lied. I mean, she had to intentionally tell that person the false information to kind of, you know, fire them up a bit and make me look like I'm just going randomly taking pictures and just putting it on my social media. So yeah, and by the way, the same art curator actually was saying that we should put the pictures up on social media and talk about it. I of course know that professionally you're supposed to go and ask the permission of the person, so I didn't do what she was trying to push. And then that same person then goes ahead and lies. So people like that you need to be aware of if you're running a business. There's no way of excluding, you know, people like that, unfortunately. So there's always a situation, but you have to be above it. You can't let people like that make you go down to their level. You know, that's who they are. That's how they operate. Good luck to them for staying wherever they are. But if you want a better position in the art industry, within your art business, you have to stay true to yourself. You have to have a certain level of respect, and you have to be respectable as well. With this sort of behavior, that's you know, that's just not cutting it really. Operate within what you believe, how you believe things should be done, and be kind. Be there for your customers and be professional, and that's the only way how I see things can be done. So there will be a little bit of artwork just after I finish speaking, but otherwise thank you so much for watching, and do let me know in the comments what you think and whether you have already experienced the Etsy reserve and what your thoughts are about it. And yeah, just anything art related. Start a conversation down in the comments and hit the subscribe button, the like button, and leave a comment. I'll see you soon. Let's revisit one of my botanical illustrations which I have done, I think, a few weeks ago. at least. And this is the flower that I have exercised throughout the process, and we talked about the patterns. I'm going to use my Ultimate Palette half pan set. I actually realized that when I'm doing botanical illustrations, I prefer working with half pans. If I'm working on an abstract painting, then I definitely prefer watercolors coming out of tubes. It's just a different experience. I also tend to use bigger brushes, and therefore they're not very comfortable with half pans. And for small illustrations like this one, when I'm not going to use too much watercolor, half pans are perfect. They are very convenient, tiny little palettes that I can just put on my sketchbook and work quite easily and conveniently. These are available on Etsy. Alyona Creates. It's exactly the same paint as in the large set, but they are obviously more affordable as you get half pans versus 14 milliliter tubes. Here I'm using 3 colors from the palette, which is chartreuse, cobalt, teal and green gold deep. So mixing those 3 colors together, I'm going to get a lovely juicy color, although at this point both of the greens can be used on their own. Chartreuse probably on its own is a little bit unnatural for my liking, so hence I like to use other colors to tone it down to a kind of like a juicy. So I'm using chartreuse to lift other colors and kind of make it, they are vibrant, they are juicy on their own, but when adding them together, there's an extra element that chartreuse brings, obviously a very luscious, kind of almost glowing color. Then you have the pigment separating and granulating properties of the cobalt teal, and obviously that slightly muddier mustardy tone of the green gold deep. All 3 colors combined together create a beautiful variety of juicy greens. You can muddy them a little bit more down with the other 2 colors in the set as well. So what I'm doing is using a small round brush, I am going through the pattern. So I'm treating it as little petals, and I am adding watercolor to each of those petals separately, and I'm making sure that they're not blending in, because what I want to create is a little bit of depth. So I'm adding a bit of this color at the bottom of this petal, and then I am moving out a little bit of the pigment with a clean brush and a little bit more water, so that it's lighter at the top and deeper at the bottom. Essentially, I am going through the entire amount of the petals and just doing it one by one. It also sometimes is easy to do a few of them at the same time, so for example 3 or 4, and not more than that, because then they will start drying and you'll get a hard edge. And then do the second step again for all of those selected little petals. I also want to add extra bit of dimension, and I will do a bit of glazing. Glazing is basically when you wait for the first layer of the color to dry, and the paper has to be completely dry to touch, and sometimes it's a good idea to use a little bit of a heat tool to kind of like set the color a bit more. Heat tools are not very good for super granulating colors because they can move those particles around and change the way they would dry naturally, which sometimes is very beautiful, and you don't want to change that. So just keep that in mind. And once everything has dried, I then go with the same color just over at the bottoms of these petals again, and that will add this illustrative style, which is different from a traditional botanical art where everything has to be very blended, very smooth and seamless. Here, to help a little bit with the illustration, I like to add a bit of drama, and so this is how I do it with watercolor. For the petals, I decided to swap to a Tombow pen, and the reason being is that it's a very fast way to add a color to the petals. I will show you two techniques that I like to use when adding color with Tombow pencils, or pens rather, markers. And the first one is adding most color right at the tip of the petal where I want it to be the darkest, and then using a clean brush with a little bit of water, not too much. This is where water control is quite important, and pulling out the color slightly so that it's pale towards the other end. And then this way it's easy to leave some highlights if that's your thing. And the other technique is that I am using right now is just filling the entire area with the color in a solid way, so there is no difference of anything. I'm just going over and adding the color throughout, so it's exactly the same from the bottom of the petal and at the top and throughout. However, this is not how I usually leave the Tombows. I tend to add water afterwards. So first I will go through all of the petals and add the same color and the color in the same way. I will do a separate video where I will go through maybe the finishing touches of these petals and show you how I would add a little bit more direction or a little bit more depth or highlights. All I've done afterwards is I did try to film it, but it was a little bit too dark, so I didn't include it here. So I just went over these petals with a bit of water, and what that does, it will lift some of the color, and you can use a little napkin to actually remove that pigment from there, or the color rather, and it will add a lovely highlight, and it ends up looking very watercolory and quite pretty. So this is it for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.